William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I welcome you to another Two Hats special of community events. Let's look in and see what's really happening.
Good afternoon and welcome to Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis. The late Patti Fink is very, very late today. She's starting off the new year just right. She's not here. She is, well, Teresa Daniel, who was our guest 2 weeks ago. Teresa's being sworn in today because Texas law is county officials are sworn in on the 1st, which I think is odd. You would think it would be the 2nd. It just seems odd.
It's just Texas.
It's a holiday. It's a holiday. Anyway, maybe they did it so that families, everybody else would be off and you could attend. So Aaron, who works for Teresa, Aaron was with us last week. Aaron had to go, so Patti wanted to go with Aaron. So they're not here. They're running very, very, very late. So,
and maybe
and the ceremony was at like 2:00, something like that. So it was while we were on the air that they had to get there. So you know, if she wasn't going to make it here by 1:00, she certainly wouldn't make it there by 2.
Absolutely, we get it,
David. We just like to explain for people who don't know why we call her the late Patti Fink. Anyway, our guest is Buster. What was the middle part of it?
Snap Spiller Craft.
And his husband, Gregory.
Craft.
Just Craft.
Welcome, guys, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Well, we invited you just because we like chatting with you, Buster. I like chatting with Gregory.
You know what was interesting? 2 weeks ago, I was like doing a search I was looking for some of my videos to show a coworker, creative videos, and did my name. And the last interview that we did here was there, and I sat out and I just listened to it, and I was like, my God, I had so much fun with them. I wish they would call me back. Aww. And then 3 days later, we were chatting
online, and, you know, it was one of those things I just thought, who am I going to get for New Year's? You know, New Year's, Christmas, Shavuos, those are hard days to get somebody to come on. So we were just chatting online, and I said, hey, Buster, why don't you come on?
Yeah, and, it was perfect timing.
And you said, that's perfect. That's perfect. So we figured, you know, New Year's, let's just do a little bit of...
And I let him listen to clips of it and say, see, I said something nice about you. And he's like, okay, quiet. I'm trying to watch TV. So he didn't really care.
And I'm the one who said, bring Gregory, because...
Yeah,
I like Gregory. But Buster's, you know, Buster's Buster. But,
I know.
So let's just do a year end. I think there was an election this year. I'm not sure if you remember anything about it. Yeah.
There was an election last year.
Last year. Which will affect those people are coming into office this year. But they're coming into office this year. More than a couple of bad things this year. The Pulse shooting. 49 people just killed, largest mass shooting by one gunman in American history. The Dallas police shooting here.
And they happened just weeks apart. Or was it just 1 week?
It was about 3 weeks. Okay. 2.5 weeks, something like that apart. I mean, that was just... I connect those two. There was nothing... gay particularly. Well, one of the officers who was shot and is on disability right now is gay. But other than that, it wasn't a gay event, but it affected everybody in the city, I think, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, you can't get much closer to home than that.
Ongoing violence. So, you know.
And I remember we had to start the show.
Yeah, I'm just going to push you closer to that mic.
Is this mic turned on?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes they're not. So I have to check.
No, I'm just saying you just have a lot of ongoing violence, period, in our society, where the gay, straight, or whatever, is just awful. There's so much tension, in our society, and that needs to be recognized. And we all need to reflect on it as people, period, to do something about it.
I went to the service. The service afterwards.
Service.
And I went as press. They didn't allow in any TV press. The one at the Meyerson, where Joe Biden spoke and George Bush spoke and Barack Obama spoke. What was interesting, George Bush was as good as I've ever heard him speak, and I'm not criticizing him. He was as good as I've ever heard him speak that day. Barack Obama was frustrated. You're saying, what can we do? We have this. That's what he was saying. We have to do something about this, and I don't know what to do about it anymore.
Well, the thing is, even for Barack Obama to be frustrated about it, when you think that, your commander-in-chief, and how nicely can I say this, when you say, well, hell, ever since I've been in office, all you people have been doing is killing each other. It's frustrating. And then how many times that someone had to say we have to stop, whether you're dealing with the RNA, the NRA, okay, whatever, the NRA, or you say that, you have the rights to bear arms, which, Americans do. That's been ever since the Revolutionary War. But the thing is, it don't mean that you have 50 million guns, or there's got to be some type of restraint on, and even though a madman can get a gun every now and then, but it's just too much of the easy access. We live in a violent freaking society. So we need to, first of all, admit that to one another, and then move on from there to see what we can do to not be so violent.
One thing, you don't want crazy people having guns. Buster applies for a gun. The answer should be no.
Hey, listen, I am a proud concealed handgun licensee, and I'm a member of the NRA, believe it or not. So that's just me.
But it's just that,
But there need to be some sensible gun regulations.
True. Right. True. And people need to talk and say, well, I have a right, I shouldn't be told what to do. No. You don't need 50 million guns in your household. And like I said, that when you think about, put it this way, every fall, every TV program, you got 10 or 15 detective police shows. Okay? I mean, think about when I lived in Europe for 8.5 years, they always say, well, when you go back to the U.S., it's so violent and everything. And you think about it, every fall, how many new TV shows you come, detective, this, that. So we have to look at that.
Dramas.
I mean, and this is not badgering police. It's just that our society is designed that way, so we need to get a grip on that. And then see from there, what can we do as a people? Not saying that you can't have, but what can we do to be more civilized?
See, Barack is frustrated, and I get it, because while I support Second Amendment rights, we've got to kind of pull that baby back in, because we're not in the era where we're, back then where they had muskets and all of that stuff. So you don't need a firearm that has a capacity to take out 50 people with just one round. We don't need that. We can pull that back. If you're going to hunt, you don't need a magazine clip with that has that high capacity. If someone is breaking into your home and you're trying to protect your home and your family, if you can't get them with 1 to 2 good shots, then you need to go back to the range and practice. There's a problem there. So his frustration is, yes, he wants to uphold the Constitution because he was sworn to do that, but he also wants the American public to exercise common sense and stop allowing a lobby, the one that I belong to basically guide that entire dialogue that we're having nationally about it, where we have to look at it from a common sense, standpoint. So I support sensible gun control, legislation.
We have a right to drive. But you have to get a license. You have to show that you know how to drive.
You have a right to go do hair, but you got to get a license.
But you have to get a license to do it. You can actually be arrested for doing hair without a license.
Exactly. I can't give you a haircut.
Exactly. And a situation that happened in Dallas was a prime example that I was listening to some information about policemen are not allowed to have a lot of them are allowed to have the automatic weapons. Okay, well, I would want to be a policeman if I'm going to a domestic violence situation and this person got all kinds of weapons and I just got a pistol. I mean, you know, so that's crazy, and I feel bad, you know, and that was a good example on what had happened. You know, so there needs to be more control there. The right to bear arms is all good to go, but there needs to be a restraint on how many rights of how many bear arms you can have.
It was different though, because he was ex-military and he was dealing with some issues.
Yeah, well, he
had a license to carry, but there were other issues that compounded that nobody checked, which is, again, another issue that, you know, frustrated the president, but he got very little traction on because he had a Congress that was just very obstinate. And we have to, admit that, and they dominated.
This has never even been discussed in Congress.
I know. I know.
Well,
and they're obstinate.
I came to a close, bad situation when I went to go for Fatima's retirement party. Was in Aurora, Colorado. My Air Force sister, she was retiring from the Air Force. She was a major in the Air Force. She was retiring. She had me to come out there for her retirement party and everything. That was the same weekend when I flew out there to Aurora, and they had the Batman movie. What was it? The Batman movie.
The Batman movie.
And I'm a Batman fan. And my flight was late getting into Colorado. I mean, it was on 9.5 freaking hours late, okay? Lucky enough that Linus's my sister had brought, her and her son had brought tickets for us to go to that Batman show. Due to my flight came in late, we did not go. That next morning, she was screaming and hollering, Gregory, come downstairs, come down. I said, what's going on? She said, this is the theater we're supposed to be in last night, and hit all the shooters. So, you know, it was horrific that the factor, we would have been in there, you know. And even though, you know, I'm military, they said, well, if somebody came and started shooting like that, I would have smelt the sense that, okay, that's the firearm. Y'all go hit the floor. I'm from Detroit. We gonna get up out of here. But this is the point. It was so close, and it was awful. And about 26 people, 7 people of Fatima's now a division at the Air Force had died, okay, because they all went to go see that movie. And around 20-something were injured, and so it was a very sad situation to go to. And all the time I was there, same time Barack had to fly, President Obama had to fly in to console the people there and all that. And that was really, America was shocked then. Stuff like that doesn't happen in Aurora, Colorado. Even though you have hunters and all that kind of good stuff there, but something that crazy, that impact. And then when the young man who did that, when they saw how psychotic he was anyway, and he had his apartment all booby-trapped and everything. So it was just crazy that he was able to have easy access to all of that.
Right. And so, I mean, really what all of us are saying is, we're not saying do away with the Second Amendment. We're saying with every privilege, with every right, you have responsibilities. One of them is learning.
People need to be put in check. Yeah, you know, say, well, it's not the gun that kills, it's the people, but still, folks need to be put in check.
It's people with guns that kill.
Right.
I mean, and that's the thing. But I'm not saying people shouldn't be allowed to have guns. You just need to prove that you know how to use it. You need to prove that you're responsible in.
And my thing is, if you have a license, just like we have to renew it after so much time, why, you know, once you get your concealed handgun, I think that there should be something that, hey, if you actually own a firearm, because some people have the license and don't own the firearm, if you have it, you've got to demonstrate that you can use that. Bring something back from a range or something. You've got to, just keep it going. You know, if you're, continuing education, basically, you have to demonstrate that you
once every 5 years, like with the driver's license. Driver's license 10 years. Once every 5 years or so.
I'd like it sooner because, a lot can happen in 5 years. So.
Sure it can, but that would sure be a good start.
Yeah, I think so.
And just demonstrate some
proficiency
And not only that, different countries have different policy. They need to know if you have this and if you do this and do this, this is the law and what's going to happen to you. Then maybe we'll rethink. You know, you can have a gun in Germany, Canada, France, and all that, but specific certain things, when this and that happen, these are the consequences you're going to deal with. It's just like saying, you know, you don't drink and drive, but how many alcoholics can still get a license and still do whatever they do too? So,
Ron.
you know, but I mean, you know, those restrictions need to be placed up in there, so that way maybe a person will think twice.
Sure.
When they make the decisions that they make.
You know, let's go back to Pulse for a moment. You know, and amongst of the shooting talk. You know, I don't go out to Oak Lawn, you know, the Strip that much anymore. I did my share partying prior to me getting married. So it's maybe once or twice a year I go out there and go to a club. But how many of you hesitated to go back out after Pulse?
I'm like you. I'm a homebody. He goes out with his friends. I mean, clubs. It's like I break out
that
my
night
eyes.
there was a big rally at Resource Center, and people marched right down to the center of Cedar Springs. 1,000 people gathered outside, and I counted. As people were lining up to march, there were over 1,000 people that marched down the street. And the point was, we're not going to be afraid.
Right.
No.
But did people think about it twice? Yes, and that's the reason that we wanted to show you're not going to stop us from being who we are.
Yeah, and I went out, I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks after Paul's. A friend of mine had a birthday party, and he likes going to see the drag show in the Rose Room. So I went, but I'm not going to lie, it was very much on my mind.
Well, you know, after the Charlie Hebdo shooting, we lost somebody in our office at Dallas Voice because he was that afraid somebody could come in.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, one thing, I'm just saying that one thing, you know, as far as going, anytime I ever went out to clubs, I always want to know where the exits are. Okay. I mean, for fires or anything like that, I learned that from being in clubs in Europe and all that. You want to know where everything's going on. Now, you may want to tell the DJs not to have that music going tat 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 tat. You know, you know, be more sensitive of that. But people just need to be more prone on their surroundings, and just good. It didn't make me feel, oh, I'm afraid to go out, but you should always be aware of your surroundings.
Absolutely. And I know I wouldn't be afraid. I mean, I'm from Flint, Michigan. He's from Detroit, Michigan. It's programmed in us to always be sensitive to our surroundings.
Being from Flint, you're just afraid to drink the water. We need to take a break. Okay. You're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3 Knon FM. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis. Our guests are Buster and Gregory something Kraft.
This is Rollins Gilliland, and I'm listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3, and darn glad to be doing it.
And this is Lambda Weekly. I'm Dave Taffet here in the studio with Lerone Landis. Did you want to do celebrity deaths first, or you want to do HP?
Sure.
Okay, you want to do celebrity deaths?
Yeah, we can do that.
George Michael.
This year was awful for just celebrity deaths. And it's kind of interesting because, you know, people forget celebrities are people too, so everybody's going to die. But this year, it just seemed like there were so much more of them. And last count, I think there was 137 big-name celebrities that we lost this past year. But I wanted to talk about particularly 3 individuals who were credited with, I guess, changing how we thought about masculinity that we lost this year in the music industry. First, there was David Bowie, then Prince, and then just on Christmas Day, my dear George Michael. You know, who also has a connection to DFW.
You know, that was the odd thing about him. The local news didn't catch on to that until about the second day afterwards. Yeah. And I don't know if it was because it was all the third strings that were on duty on Christmas Day, but there was absolutely no mention that he and Kenny Goss had a condo up on Turtle Creek and then bought a big house in Highland Park. Yeah. No mention of that at all.
No mention.
Until about 2 days later, somebody
for
caught
10
on.
years.
Yeah, he did. The only excuse I can think of, which is not much of an excuse, tell me I agree with you, David, they have been broken up for quite a while now. That's the only thing I can think of out of sight, out of mind.
But still, anybody, you can have a Musketeer. If a Musketeer has a connection to Dallas, the Dallas media is so happy
Cubby.
Yes.
One of the original Musketeers.
Yeah, so happy to tout the fact that they had a
years
Dallas
ago was on our show.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So
because I had said whoever I was co-hosting with at the time, I said, that was my first gay crush, and he said, well, he lives here in Dallas, and he arranged he got.
Oh my God!
Anyway,
funny.
No.
But seriously though, anybody, you could have, like Michael Sam's father lived here, and when he started to get big, Dallas was like, oh, he's got a Dallas connection, but nothing with George, and I just kept waiting to hear that, and I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't know why.
The Michael Goss or Goss Michael Foundation,
right?
It's still here.
It's still here.
So it still has his name. They constantly are doing art shows at the Goss Michael Foundation. They do a lot of stuff. But I'm wondering if one of the reasons was it took a couple of days till Kenny Goss put out a statement. He probably wasn't in town. Right, because it was the holiday.
And for those of you listening who have no idea what we're talking about, George Michael used to date. His partner was Kenny Goss, who's has a gallery here. They dated for what?
10 years.
10 years or so.
It was a little over 10
they had
years.
a house here. So no, George Michael is not from here, but
this was one of his addresses. He
was a resident of Dallas for a while.
No mention
of it.
Conservative Dallas.
Yeah.
That's a conservative Dallas.
I think it was partially third-string news reporters on the air.
I think that's right. He did pass away on Christmas Day.
Yeah, who didn't know because they weren't local.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So, but what do you all think as far as the impact of those three guys that I just mentioned? How do you,
David Bowie.
How do you think they impacted the gay community?
David Bowie, and this is just me as a little boy growing up, I would see him in all of his androgynous state, and I just knew that there was something about him that I absolutely adored, and I didn't care if anybody thought that I liked, him, and I knew the music. Then when Prince came along, he gave me permission to be myself, even though he wasn't gay.
No, he was not. He was not.
No, but there was just something, like the very first LP that I bought was his Dirty Mind album with him in the bikinis and the boots. That I made bologna sandwiches to take to school that week because I had used my lunch money to buy that, but I had to hide the album underneath my father's LPs because I knew that they wouldn't understand why I had brought an LP with a naked man in a shower in their house. But there was just something about him that I connected. When he died, my world collapsed. I went, and you probably saw it on Facebook. I went to black and I cried every day for like 3 weeks. It did something to me. And George also. Yeah. George.
For me, the biggest of the three was George. That's who I grew up with. Prince also, but for whatever reason, Prince and I just never really.
Do you know one thing about George Michael though?
Look,
you will have to
blasphemy.
No, we'll have to talk about that.
David, hold me back, David.
I'm not saying I didn't like him, but Prince kind of threw me off with the whole Jehovah Witness thing, the homophobic thing. It's like, really? Okay. So,
some gay people, self-hating.
The thing, and
that's what. Yeah, so
it was fine that he said that he wasn't gay. Of course, if he isn't, he isn't. I have no problem with that. But it's almost like it was just a big reminder of that Gloria Gaynor moment. Here you are, your career was built on of gay men.
Donna Summer.
Or Donna Summer, both of them. And then you come out with a statement like that. It's like, are you serious?
Wait a minute, Gloria did that too?
Oh, Gloria Gaynor did it before Donna Summer did it. Yeah. Okay. So, but that's what it was. But George Michael.
And then she went, I'm a lesbian.
Do you remember that group Simply Red?
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Simply Red was out. One thing with George Michael, we remember Simply Red, and we said, "What were you doing? You hear that music?" That's when we got on the dance floor, back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It was all
do you know what surprised me about George Michael this week? In just hearing some of the tributes, every single tribute was playing a couple of different songs, and I was going, "Oh yeah, that was George Michael.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was Wham. Oh yeah, that was them." It wasn't that I didn't know these were their songs. It was that I had forgotten.
You forgot about him.
I had forgotten how many hits he had.
He was a prolific songwriter.
Ton of hits.
You know, he and I don't want to knock today's artists too much, but they are not like the George Michael. Not only could he sing, and really sing, he was a prolific songwriter. He could definitely write.
And he had more soul than a lot of.
And I was telling somebody else about that. I'm like, you know what? There aren't too many white artists who got the respect from the old school R&B black community that George Michael did. They loved George Michael.
What was?
And I remember when he did that duet with Stevie Wonder on the Apollo show. He did a duet with Aretha Franklin, and they just loved George Michael. So he's a big talent. I would truly miss him. And going back to David Bowie, there was a time people forget David Bowie did say he was gay. And early in his career,
he was fluid.
And then he said he was bisexual, and then he ended up marrying Iman, the beautiful Iman. So it's just interesting.
But I love the freedom that David had. He just kind of put it out there. It wasn't for gimmick. It was just David being David. Right. And there, as a little boy, that was just something that I was like, golly, I love that weird white man. I don't know what he's doing, but I love him because he was just so different, and it felt you could see the freedom, this aura of freedom around him.
I believe he was in his late 50s.
No, he was in his David
was in his 60s.
Was he in the 60s? And there's one other thing I want to mention about David Bowie that I just always respected. A lot of, again, these younger generations, they have no idea, but early days of MTV, they did not play black artists.
That's right.
And one of the first artists to get on and blew up and was played a large part in his major success was Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson.
But before then, the one person who spoke up and called MTV out live during an interview and asked them why they wouldn't play some of these great black artists was David Bowie. I'll never forget that interview. He called them out, and I remember, I forgot who was interviewing, but he was stuttering and making up all kinds of excuses. So David Bowie has always been, I guess, on the right side of things with me.
Well, David, he was the truth. I'm sorry. He will be
sorely missed.
And that's what, when they were doing the various in memoriams and they mentioned him, I said, I didn't think it was 2016. I thought it was the year before, but I remember that Natalie started it with New Year's Eve, because a lot of people were including Natalie Cole, but she died on New Year's Eve. And then some days later is when David left the stage. So it was, again, like you said, 130 some odd. It's like we've been saturated and rereading that. It's like, oh yeah, they died, and the grief is just overwhelming.
And you know what? There's been so many celebrity deaths. I think one other reason, going back to the city of Dallas's amnesia with George Michael. I think a lot of people wanted to confirm it first, because, like, is this really true? Because there's also been a lot of celebrity death hoax stories this year. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a story that has said that Joseph Jackson has died. Michael Jackson's dad.
Amos from Good Times.
Exactly.
I was like, don't let James die. Damn.
There was even two stories to share of Britney Spears.
Britney
Spears died. So it's
that's
just like,
crazy why they do that all the time.
That's become the thing now. So I think they, again, trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they just really wanted to confirm it, because I know I saw it. I was over at Danny's mom's house, and I'm like, no way, no, this is another celebrity death hoax story, and unfortunately it was not.
It was not.
But maybe they just wanted to take time and really confirm.
And again, it's on Christmas, so you don't really want to kind of kill the spirit of the day with a death of that magnitude, but there was no way around it, you know.
And one other thing I just really loved about George Michael and his career and him coming out, and as far as how he affected the LGBT community, he did come out in the best of ways, because he got caught in,
at Rivershine. I would just say it. Just say it. I was trying to tiptoe around it.
He got caught in a version of Rivershine out in California, and he didn't. He didn't act like he was ashamed of it. He owned it.
He owned up to it.
He owned it. He came out. He said, "You know what? I was doing something wrong. I know I shouldn't have been doing it. And here it's me. This is my truth. I'm gay." And he really owned it. He took ownership of it. Whereas, we have some other people who've gotten caught in the bushes and they don't want to talk about it.
What he was doing wrong was what he wasn't doing in the right place.
Exactly. Exactly.
Wasn't that he was doing anything wrong?
Exactly.
That you weren't doing it in the right place.
That's exactly it.
Okay, you had your business out in the public.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, but it's been, I guess, a week now, and they still have not. I don't know how fast the coroner's report is released over in London, but the cause of death still has not been officially determined. They suspect a heart attack.
That's what, yeah.
But that's not official yet. So, but
I don't see that on the news.
We're having some transmitting problems.
Oh, have we even been on the air all this time?
Not all of it.
But that's okay. Let's just keep going. We're fine.
We're fine.
Troopers.
Yeah.
All the star power in here, man. It couldn't handle it.
Okay, I have another celebrity death that we hadn't talked about. She was a guest of ours at least 3 times, I think maybe 4. Doris Roberts.
That's right.
From Everybody Loves Raymond.
She was.
She played the mom on Everybody Loves Raymond.
Was it this year?
It was this year.
It was earlier this year.
I know that see, again, I thought it was 2015.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was this year that we lost Doris. And, I mean, talk about what a sweetheart. She was here in town. She used to come in to do fundraising for Ranch Hand Rescue.
Yes.
And because she and Bob, who owns Ranch Hand Rescue, were extremely close friends. She saved his life. He had a stroke. She found him in just enough time, rushed him to the hospital, and saved his life. And that's when he retired, basically, from his high-pressure job in California, moved here. And she used to come and visit. And when she came and visited, she came on the show. And what a sweetheart she was. I had lunch with her one time because I was interviewing her for the paper, and we had lunch at the Melrose Hotel. Mm-hmm. Okay. And everybody saw her walking in and was like, "Is that her? Is that her?" Behind her back. And I was like, "Yes, that's her. Yeah, that's her. That's her." But as we were sitting having lunch, people would come over and say, "I really don't want to interrupt your lunch, but I just have to tell you how much I love you." Mm-hmm. And so I said to her, "Does that bother you?" And she said, "Bother me? Why do you think I do this?" She said, a woman came up to me one time and said her son was killed in Iraq. Mm-hmm. And she would go to work every day and would come home from work, and I was the only thing that could make her laugh. Mm-hmm. She said,
"That's wonderful.
What a wonderful thing that I can make somebody who's been through so much and done, and really given something, and I make somebody laugh. How could that bother me?" Mm-hmm. And you hear about all these celebrities who are just, rotten toward their fans. She loved her fans. She just loved everybody and had a good time, and she was working hard until she died.
She was probably one of the most underrated too, because her comedic timing and wit was unparalleled. And I'm an actor, and I look at this like I couldn't do what Doris Roberts did at the level that Doris Roberts did it.
She had another great story. She was on out in Cleveland with Betty White, and they were in a fight. And the idea was, or she was told, okay, Betty White's going to throw a pie at you, and then we'll film all that, and then you'll throw the pie at Betty White. Well, Doris was the guest on the show. Betty White throws a pie at her, and Doris is, all ready to go for the next scene. And they said, "Oh, no, Betty White doesn't get a pie thrown at her." So just Doris.
Oh my God.
Have you all seen the meme on Facebook? Somebody please bubble wrap Betty White.
I know, yeah.
Make sure she gets to 2017.
That's what we were getting protective. Like I put on mine that after George Michael, I said I'm going home. I'm burning sage inside and outside the house because I don't want any more death in 2017.
And then this week, Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds.
Yeah, then that's right. Yeah, they were, and then so I guess it didn't work, huh?
No, it didn't.
No. Yeah, you can say we had one more yesterday. Yeah. The guy from MASH.
Yeah.
Which guy from
MASH? He played the doc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he played the.
Oh no, not the doctor. He played.
No, he played the.
He was the priest.
The priest.
Yeah, he was the priest.
Oh, okay, he died.
Yeah, he died. He was in his 80s also.
And see, with Carrie's, it's like I'm not going to say that it was unexpected. I mean, because because she lived her life so on the edge, even though she was iconic, if she were to die, it was like, oh, she died, but then it's like, yeah, but we kind of expected that.
I
but
mean,
her mom, oh my God.
Yeah, that's awful.
That wore me out. And I looked at the special on ABC that they did, Carrie and Debbie, A Love Story. And I was just like trying to fight back tears the entire time because I learned so much about both of them, how their lives paralleled, you know, not just mother-daughter, but career-wise. And it was just a very difficult show to watch because, I mean, I didn't realize that Debbie, I knew a lot of her work, but I didn't know the full breadth of it. And I was like, my God, that woman was phenomenal.
And the documentary they did together
and
on Saturday.
Yeah, it's an HBO special. That's
And mentioning Debbie, gone to some brighter news, you know, she made several appearances on Will and Grace.
Yes.
It has been confirmed now that Will and Grace is coming back on NBC as a regular show, not just as a special.
Oh, really?
Oh, I thought they were going to do like a limited 10 episodes or something.
I thought it was just a regular, but 10, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Oh,
I mean,
thank God.
a regular season
show.
is 12.
Well, on cable, a regular season on a network show would be like 20. 20,
Oh,
you're right.
Even like when Will and Grace came out, that's when, even like when Will and Grace came out, that's when our society was being more comfortable with gay people.
Well, they helped me.
They were part of the change agents. They really like, oh, okay, you know.
So, and it was Leslie Jordan who released the news. So another
guest of ours
on Lambda Weekly.
He's alive.
Yeah, he is alive.
So, but I guess
and funny, still.
I guess Bobby, who Debbie Reynolds played, she will not be on.
She will not be on.
Because they have not filmed it. They have not filmed it.
No.
It is sad.
I wonder if they'll even have a reference, if they'll do a reference to her mom not being around anymore. Or
they might.
They probably say that she passed.
Because she was fabulous.
She was. What other deaths? There have been a few others.
None that I can think of off the top of my head as far as gay related, but you know, like Natalie Cole, which I guess was actually.
She was the prelim. She was
the prelim. That sticks out in my head.
She died New Year's Eve.
It was Eve?
It was Eve.
I thought it was day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eve.
But there's been a lot of them.
Well, why don't we take our break? The show should be recording, we think. It looks like it's going out through the system. It's going out through here, not going out there. Okay. So if you can't hear us but are listening to us later, we're just having some technical trouble.
I'm Joey Santos, and I listen to KNON FM 89.3, Lambda Weekly.
And you're listening to Lambda Weekly on 89.3, KNON FM. Gregory just asked us, we're having a little bit of technical problem. Where does the show normally go out to? It's a 55,000 watt station, so it reaches, good 70 miles in each direction.
I mean, I've heard it, we've been told people have picked us up as far as Waco.
I usually lose it around west.
And it's not a real good signal, but you can pick it up a little bit.
Yeah, it depends on your antenna, I guess.
Right.
It's 70, 75 miles in any direction from the towers down in Cedar Hill. Our guests today are Buster and Gregory Kraft. We're just talking about the year in review a little bit. House Bill 2.
House Bill 2, it's so funny. Well, House Bill 2 is the bill out of North Carolina that got so much national news this year because it effectively bans trans people from using the correct bathroom. This is the bathroom bill. The bill is signed into law. There's been a lot of backlash because of it. They lost a lot of money, including the NBA's pulling out their All-Star game for 2017. That's huge, but the bill is still law. Now, there was an effort now with the new governor to get it repealed here recently.
They made a deal to repeal it.
They made a repeal. I mean, they made a deal.
Okay, here's what happened originally. Charlotte passed a non-discrimination ordinance. In response, their right-wing governor and their legislature in one day pushed this bill, House Bill, through the House, through the Senate, and the governor signed it in one day. That normally doesn't happen.
Right.
So they signed it. It became law instantly, and the bans started.
Right. They lost a lot of money.
They've lost millions.
And they should.
They should.
And Texas, there's kind of whispers out there that Texas is looking at doing the same thing. May they lose their money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because my thing is, like, Lerone kind of cleaned it up, bathroom bill, gender, da-da-da-da-da. What it did, you're just basically saying that a person does not have the right to release their bodily fluids when nature calls, basically.
Absolutely.
Let's just get very crass.
And here's what the other argument is, and they're totally turning it around for people out there who don't know anything about trans people. What they're saying is, I just saw something on Facebook the other day about it. Men shouldn't be allowed to go in women's restrooms. Well, I agree with you, but we're not talking about men going into women's restrooms.
We're talking about transgender.
We're talking
women.
about a transgender woman. That's so that they're trying to paint the picture that a guy, 6 foot something with a beard, just walking into a woman's restroom. Right. That's not the case. That is not the case at all. Never has been. There was even a local story here of a guy who followed a woman into the restroom and caused a scene. It turns out the woman was I didn't even think she was a lesbian. I think she was just kind of...
And he should have been arrested.
He should have been arrested.
It was just a woman who was...
He said that he was trying to protect his mother. Yes, exactly.
And there was a way that he should have went... But even with all this change, first of all, you should be able to go pee wherever you need to go pee.
Thank you.
Exactly.
The bottom line, too, is the factor when they're saying, well, we got to protect little girls because of pedophiles. A pedophile doesn't dress up in drag. A pedophile is going to dress up just like that straight man and get your little boy or girl.
And you're absolutely right. What about the little boys? Nobody seems to be concerned about little boys. Mm-hmm. You're concerned about pedophiles. Well, your little underage sons are going into the bathroom by themselves.
Your football coach may be the pedophile. So the whole thing, and when I lived in Europe, I never forget one time we were going from Germany over into France, and the touring bus service, they took us to like a rest stop. Mm-hmm. And they had all the unisex bathrooms. I said, okay, where do the guys go? And they said, oh, we don't do that. You use the bathroom. Each stall,
Right.
Otherwise, you take care of your business. So that's what you're supposed to be going in the bathroom in the first place.
That's what you're supposed to be in the bathroom in the first place.
So all this hoopla, once again, it's our society. They want to throw it on. They throw it on its religion. It has nothing. It was just as bad as having black bathrooms, white bathrooms, do segregation, all that. A person got to go pee.
Okay, so here's the funny story about that. Me being stupid. I grew up in New York. I had never seen segregated bathrooms till we went to Miami. I was about 6-7 years old visiting my grandmother. Well, they had colored bathrooms and they had white bathrooms. Doesn't a bathroom with colors sound more interesting to you? I wanted to go into the colorful bathroom.
Oh, that's so sweet.
David, you are funny.
Oh, I could just give you a little hug and little 6-year-old David. What did your mom say?
I want to throw an ankle on.
Oh, no. My mother would not let me use either one.
Okay.
Okay. I was not going into a segregated bathroom. No.
And good for her.
Yeah.
Now, I was at a friend's son's graduation party and got into a real heated debate with a police officer and a few of my educator friends, where they said they had a problem with it because they were teachers. They didn't want a boy to, to go into the girls' restroom, da-da-da-da-da. I said, listen, okay, I work in education also. I said, right now, and this is because of Columbine and some of the other schools, you cannot get in, you cannot just walk off the street into a school. You got to buzz in, state your business. They're going to see you walking to the office. You're not going to have any of that time. So if anything happens to a child, it's an inside job, basically. So that means that you as the teacher, you as the administration, you're not doing your job to protect those children that are under your
care.
Under your care. So that's a non-argument. You're just basically using your own biases against trans people to drive this argument. And what was so funny was that they had a relative that was there that I thought was a female, natural born female, come to find out that she was a trans woman. And I was like, oh my God, you all have been speaking this way around her, how incredibly disrespectful, but she allowed it. And I was just, when I was like, thank God.
This whole issue is a non-issue. It's a made-up story. It's a made-up issue. Just like the war on Christmas. There's no war on Christmas. It's a made-up issue.
Yeah, there is.
It really is. Narrative. It really is.
I have several cannons in my yard, and anybody who comes near me with, shooting for Christmas, I will blast them with my cannon because I am fighting that war on Christmas.
It's fake, just like the gay agenda.
It is.
Which, we've got to make sure we put some more bullet points on there.
Well, and here's the other point about this bathroom issue. There has never been zero, zilch, nada. There's never been a trans person charged or even accused legally of doing anything wrong in a public restroom.
Right. It's everyone who looks normal.
Exactly.
It's the ones who are doing that.
They want to make them out to be predators. I mean, you can't even say, well, it's about 0.5% of, the predatory actions, towards little kids in public or trans. No, there's none of them. Zero. None of them. It is a made-up issue. You would never even know that some of these individuals were trans unless they told you.
In North Carolina, they show their true... I wasn't on. In North Carolina, because Josh is on the phone right behind me. In North Carolina, they showed their true colors. They made a deal. Originally, what caused this was Charlotte passed a non-discrimination ordinance, so the legislature passed a law that said you can't pass an ordinance like this. And we have that bill pending now in the Texas legislature. However, they made a deal. Charlotte would repeal, and the legislature would repeal. So Charlotte repealed, and what did the legislature do?
They stalled.
It balked. It stalled. They decided, no, we're not going to repeal. Showed what kind of people they are. Showed what kind of deal they could make, and they couldn't make a new deal. The other thing that the legislature has done is the incoming governor, because of House Bill 2, is a Democrat, and so they passed a bill or passed a law that limits the incoming governor's powers.
Yes, I saw that.
To take powers away.
And that's you know what? And we talk about this, and we always look at the head, but the power is in the people. If the people allow it and they don't get off their duffs and vote because they know what's going on, they know it is wrong, get rid of all of those people. But we don't want to because we believe the false story, the lie, the narrative out there, and we want to believe it. We're comfortable with it. So that says something about us, not about the idiots that we put in these positions. What happened on November the 8th should not have occurred. But it did. Because we allowed it. We allowed it. So we can't blame the orange Dorito.
So the polling showed that she was going to win, but polling also showed who was voting for whom. And in the black community, something happened that has basically never happened before. He showed a 0% support, or the black community had 0% support
and
for
that
Trump.
Turned out not to be accurate.
And that turned out not to be accurate.
It wasn't accurate either.
And I was really disgusted with the black community to the factor that any other groups in this country, they can sit back and have the luxury of saying, "Oh, I don't feel like voting. I think I'll set it out this time." No, babe. When you are black, and I'm a black American. Okay, I'm a black American before African American. Okay. And when we have blood on our hands, we have people who've been strung up by trees, been killed, been told in over 5 or 6 different states that you're not even allowed to vote for president. I went with my nanny to see her vote for a president for the first time way back in whenever John F. Kennedy was voting for his second time in the election to see that. 60, whatever, okay. But the bottom line is that for a black person to sit back and say, well, I don't feel like voting, I don't like who's supposed to be on voting. No. Even if you have to vote for one of the two evils. Okay? It's really sad that, for those who felt that they were complacent or I don't have to do this, because, like I said, we have blood on our hands where for all those who have died before us, who even gave us the right to vote, your ass need to vote.
The number of gay people who voted for Trump has shocked me.
Well, also, because like with the black vote, and this is known in the political world, in order for a candidate modern day to capture the White House, you can't dip below 90% of the black vote, because if you do, there's an issue. Because we saw that with Bush in 2000 and 2004. Hillary received 84% of the black vote. So I'm trying to figure out, well, wait, where did the other 6% of you go? Did you actually vote for him? Did you really listen to that? I mean, did you believe that lie? Or did you,
Well, Lerone voted for Trump.
Sure did.
Well, at least he voted. If he did that, but remember, like when Conway West said,
your problem is people who didn't.
Yeah, like when Conway West made that statement. Well, if I would have voted, I would have voted for Trump. You know, you dumbass. Excuse me. Well, I'm not excusing myself for saying that. I'm a grown man. I'm gonna say that. You're a real dumbass. When you are putting yourself in a position where you say, "Well, I didn't vote," then shut up. Right. You have nothing to do with the conversation, no matter who.
And basically,
Trump,
what needs to happen is that people, black people heard you, because just like you said, George Bush doesn't like black people and all of that stuff. Well, black people heard your statement, and every retail product that you sell, every CD, we don't need to buy it.
Yep. So
we don't need to support you and your lifestyle, because you've already arrived. There are a lot of people that they don't know how they're going to eat this evening, but you can make a very flippant statement like that. So no, and I loved Kanye West for his creativity and all that stuff, but when he said that, it's like, okay, you just lost one. I will never purchase anything with your label on it, with your name on it, your brand, ever.
So going back to the polls, I think a lot of pollsters are out of work now.
they got it wrong.
They got it wrong across the board. There were, I think, one or two not real popular polling sites that did predict that Trump would win, but they were few and far between. But yeah, not only did they say the Hillary win, they predicted that she would get upwards of 300 plus electoral votes. They were wrong on that. They were also wrong about the black vote. They were polling supposedly, or Trump was polling 0.0% of the black vote. In the end, he got 8% of the black vote.
He's a misogynist.
Yes. But then there was still something wrong, too, with all of the voting, too, though, because
there was something wrong.
There's something that occurred that is not very evident to us.
That goes back to Russia.
But you know what?
Y'all better recognize.
And I was even more disgusted on December, what was it, December 9th, when the electoral college? 19th. Because some people, we were all hoping for, like, okay,
the courageous 57.
The courageous people change their vote, and Hillary can still get in. And she lost some of her votes.
But it didn't. By that point, it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. But
I think the reason we were thinking, well, maybe this could happen, is that the elector from Dallas did change his vote.
He did change his vote,
but that was Dallas.
The Hamilton electors.
Right. Now, the thing is, with the Electoral College, there was no chance, and people who were thinking, 40 some odd electors are going to change their votes were crazy, because electors are chosen ever since the 1820s. They changed the way the Electoral College is formed. The Electoral College got tied to parties, and that would be like Lerone, you being a Hillary elector and then deciding that you weren't going to vote for her.
Right.
Bill Clinton was a Hillary
on it too. So
even the penalties are minor in most cases, but still, the electors don't have. They're not independent the way the Electoral College was created.
Right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they're tied to parties. Bill Clinton was a Hillary elector. Is there a chance that he was going to decide, well, Hillary's just not competent? No.
Right.
So
not go home that evening.
Do you think it's time to do away with that? I know that's incredibly long shot.
Either
do you think it's time to do away with the Electoral College?
Here's the other problem I have with the Electoral College. If you live in Wyoming, there are 3 electoral votes. If you live in California, there are 55. But based on population, a vote in Wyoming counts 4 times as much as a vote in California. If you're going to keep the Electoral College, it needs to be fair. Texas needs more electoral votes. California needs more electoral votes. New York and Florida need more electoral votes. If you're going to keep Wyoming, Vermont, South Dakota with 3 electoral votes.
And one of the main reasons of having it, you did not want the mob effect. You didn't want to, no, because, and that was to keep us civilized. You did not want the mob effect. My person didn't win, so they hoard in and tear up everything. So that was one reason. But see, Americans themselves, we run a 4th grade education on knowing how our true government runs, the average American. We forget things and all that. And they've taken away civics and government in high schools. They did that from the early 80s. A lot of that's been out the window. Half you young students, they don't know nothing about, voting rights, why, what this
how the government
is run, anything. It was at one point you couldn't get out of high school unless you passed civics, economics, and home economics. All 3 of those,
right.
And all that's gone. So just with that being going along, that's why everyone is so dumbfounded.
That was very deliberate.
Yeah.
It was very
you have a country full of dummies, baby.
Well,
you need to be correct.
I don't know. And you got your parents too. I make sure my kid is not one of those.
Yes, but you still know nothing about birthing no babies.
I know a little about birthing babies. I was there.
But it's
our
important.
Youngest son, he had his voter registration card before he got his license.
Sure did. Because when one thing about even our children, we say, okay, one day we're going to step back. You're going to be the new leader. You got to know how to lead.
And we're not going to a home, so you need to make sure you do it correctly.
We are just about out of time. Do you have a quickie prediction for this coming year?
A lot more surprises.
A changeover in Dallas local government, and I'll just leave it at that. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a big turnover.
Well, I want to thank Buster and Gregory for being with us.
Thank you, guys.
And
thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And have a fabulous 2017.
I'm gonna miss you. It'll be like that. Yeah, like for the Valentine's Day issue. You need to. I have to be near you, David.
Okay. For everybody here at Lambda Weekly, have a happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And we'll be back next week with more.
Okay.
This is William, hopefully your favorite videographer from Two Hats Publishing. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please leave comments below, or like, follow, or subscribe to us and get notices of all our videos. We love it, even when you call.